Hi everyone, welcome back to the second video, and this one is going to be all about functions. So, remember that variable lesson? They're everywhere. Well, it's really important because we need to understand and remember variables in order to fully utilize functions. But to get started, let's take a look at what TrikeBot is up to. Oh, I think I already have it open here. What? TrikeBot? What the heck did you do? TrikeBot? What the heck is this? What's going on here? Oh, TrikeBot. Look what he did. Look at all the... Oh, my goodness. Well, what the heck is going on here? Let's zoom in a little bit. Whoa. It looks like he put things... He put it into a function. Hey, bro, just use a function. Speed, how fast you want me to go? Drive time. Well. And then, what? He just made a function to print the... Okay, well, very funny, TrikeBot, but I'm trying to teach a lesson here. Sorry about that. Okay, well, I mean, I do think that this whole thing about functions is going to be pretty fun because, I mean, you can't spell functions without tions or fun, right? Got it? Anyway, what is a function? For example, you could think of it as like a tool that you call to do something for you. So if you have like a worker with a hammer, and you think of the hammer as the function, the worker as like the computer, you could say, the worker could say like, hey hammer, here's some nails and wood, and then the hammer could say, oh, hey worker, here's the furniture I made with that stuff you gave me. And then they would be able to basically move on from there. And that is how cabinets come. That's where cabinets come from. Now, the basics for functions, and to think about this is like, okay, you could think about it with functions as something that has parameters. So the wood and nails are parameters. You can think of that as like the input of the function. For example, if you look at sleep, like the milliseconds of sleep, the parameter is how much time you want it to sleep, how much time you want your code to sleep for. It takes one integer parameter. That's what we use to refer to it. And there's actually a lot of built-in functions for C++ that you can call at any time. And a lot of these are either built into C++ or they're built into libraries that Vex uses. And so we've used things like you can print to the screen, you can sleep for a certain amount of time, or telling the motors to spin. Those are pre-made functions that the class motor has. Or smart motors, I guess they are referred to as. But they have these functions built in, and they take parameters in order to use them. And you also are familiar with the tournament functions. So for Vex tournaments, you have pre-auton, autonomous, driver control, and main. These are the main functions that you need in a tournament. And they're being called at different times in a match. You have the driver control period is called when it's triggered by the system, and same with autonomous. And so it's important to understand that what's going on in your program is that these different functions are being called at different times. Yeah. And you could also think of it as an IPO model, which is a certain type of modeling technique you can use for computer science. An IPO model is basically an input, process, and output. So you could think of the input as the parameters, the process is what's actually happening, and then the output is the thing that gets returned. But sometimes it doesn't return anything, and we'll get into that. Now, the basics of any function are basically you have a data type declared at the beginning, and in this case we say void if it has not anything that it returns. Then you have the name of the function, and then you have parameters that go inside the brackets. And that's basically all the parts of a function. And then, of course, you have an open and closed bracket to indicate the actual code that where the code for that function goes. So anything inside of these brackets is actually going to be only executed when the function is called. So if you look at something like autonomous, this is a very simple example. It doesn't return anything, it has no parameters, and it just has its name, and inside you put your autonomous code. Straightforward, it is a function. And there are actually quite a few types. They can have parameters or not, and they can return things or not. So you can have like 2 parameters, 3 parameters, no parameters, or you can have like a variety of different things being returned by a function, or just have it do its thing and move on. So first of all, if you have a function that doesn't return anything, these could be things that are like directly controlling your robot. So like first, if we're creating the function, let's say we create a simple drive function, setting the velocity of the motors, moving forward, and then for 2 seconds, and then stopping. Okay, and then when we call the function, we just use the name. So we say drive, and then the thing is, it has 2 parameters. So we have to say drive for 30% velocity and for 500 milliseconds or half a second. And then it knows what to do. Does this look like something you've seen before? That's right. It's the same TrikeBot code. So this was the code that I showed you at the beginning. That's what TrikeBot did. He turned it into a function. So let's look at an example of a function that returns something. So in this case, when we create the function, let's say we create something called calc percentage, and it just takes your score and your total score, divides them, and then it's going to return that value. So we've created that function there, and then inside of our main, we call the function. Oh yeah, and you can create variables inside of functions if that wasn't clear. Like this is a variable that was created just for this function. That's fine, you can do that. Now when we're calling the function, let's say we use the name, so we say calc percentage, and then we pass in the values. So these values, these parameters, then get passed into the function code like this. So we have your score getting sent in there, or the 18 goes to your score, and the 25 goes to total score. And then because the function returns something, we have to actually store it. So then that's where we say float my percentage equals calc percentage, and then we have the 2 values. So then the value that gets returned is 0.72, which should go into and be stored in the my percentage variable. So that is basically the whole process of a function that returns something. So now let's do a practice, and you could open up Robot Mesh and code it yourself, but I want you to try to make a function that adds numbers, taking 2 integers, a and b, and adds them, and then returns the result. So how would you do that? Even just write it in a text file. What would that look like? Write it, just type it out. And then, so pause the video, pause it, don't keep watching, pause it, and then when you're ready, you press play again to see the answer. Don't skip to the answer. Did you pause it? Okay. Welcome back. Now that you have your answer written down, which I'm sure you did, in a text file or on some coding program, what would it look like? Well, int add numbers, int a, int b, and then you have int c equals a plus b, return c. So that's what it does. Then you have in the main function, how would we call the function? How would we call it? Well, we could just say int sum equals add numbers 15, 10. And then if you were using Robot Mesh Studio, you could do something like this to print out the result. And that's all. That's all we do. It's pretty straightforward. So if you want to take a look at some live examples, there is some example for how to do the calc percentage and the sum, so the answers for both. So let's take a look at that. We can see here, I'm going to get rid of this thing here. So we have our add numbers function, and we have the calc percentage function, and then we have them both working. And it is possible just to use the Vex simulated brain to generate the answers here. So we have 50, and then calc percent is 0.9, so 20 plus 30, so that gives us the sum of 50. And then we have brain that screen that prints sum, so it's printing that. Then we have calc percentage 18 divided by 20 should be 0.9, so there, we're good. It works. Run it one more time. Hopefully pops up. Perfect. Good. We know that it works. All right. So that's basically the gist of how to use functions. And so the best thing to start doing now is think about ways that you can use functions for adding more utility to your code and reducing repetition. So if you ever have something that is repeating, if you have code that's repeating a lot and you need to do the same operation multiple times, then use a function so that you can save a lot of code and save a lot of lines of code, but also make your life easier. It's just so much easier to change it if you put it into a function. You only have to change it in one place, and it affects every spot that you've called that function. So that's the functions video. Thanks for watching.